find is a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Following the lights of a world that's blind. In your eyes I see there's a place for me. All I seek to find is a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Following the lights of a world that's blind. In your eyes I see there's a place for me.
You can take your time. You can choose your words. Let me down real easy. Let me down real easy. Well, I'm doing just fine because I caught your lies. You say that it's you, not me. Baby, now that I am
Welcome back, everyone, to United Rogue Power Rankings for Link Weenie League. I am Mile in the booth here. We have Face, Terminator, and Every Damn Day. And I can tell you right now, we've had a lot of interesting moves in the last few weeks. Sorry, because we did not actually have a stream or Power Rankings for last week. And I know for myself, the biggest topic is probably going to be New Orleans. Wow, they just really blew up last week. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. First off, I think we're going to lead into the power rankings for this week. And at number 10, we have Cleveland, a team that I'm personally on. What do you guys think? Face, you there?
Well, I think, sorry, I was muted. Uh, I think Cleveland looks incredibly strong. They've lost mainly to teams that have had incredible records. They've lost to Nashville, they've lost to Baltimore, and I really think if they can pick up some extra points against the other teams in their division, I think they'll be a strong contender coming into the playoffs here.
Yeah, I think we're doing pretty well, but I know there's a lot of other really strong teams. Like, for instance, Portland, another team that has an extremely strong lineup. They are now ranked at 9. And Terminator, what are you thinking?
Portland's got a great team. I'm on San Diego, which you could see is number 8, but Portland's in our division. They have a very strong lineup. Tez is leading them to victory right now. And last week in their game against the Armada, they ended up losing 3-2, but they played two guys they just signed, and they're going to be good, especially once they get that chemistry going together. And they were good last week, so they got scary things ahead for them.
I completely agree. They came in with one of the strongest lineups this season. I just don't know if they had like the teamwork or what they just didn't have connecting, but they're starting to really get it going. That leads us into number 8. You already spoke on a little bit there, Terminator. San Diego. Every damn day. What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, San Diego's an interesting team. They started off the season very strong and then ended up dealing with a couple of roster changes and seemed to pull it together, pretty well last week. The overtime win against Portland. I expect them to continue it going forward. They seem to have most of their rosters stayed steady and some good chemistry building.
At number 6, we have New York, and they have won 4 out of their last 5 games. They lost against Detroit last week, but who can blame them? I mean, Detroit's very strong, but what you're seeing in New York is an extremely strong team that I think they can bounce back, and I think during the finals they'll be able to beat New York. What do you think, Face?
I'm really looking forward to that matchup. New York, such a strong team, but you know what? All the teams that are in these power rankings, no one has a perfect season anymore. And now as we're getting into the latter weeks of the season, we're really starting to see that depth of roster come in. We're seeing really strong teams drop games against teams that aren't necessarily as strong when you match up the ABC versus ABC. But let's take it back real quick and let's talk about New Orleans. I mean, they're 4-2. Their first game in the season, none of those players are on New Orleans anymore. They're really strong, and I think the big thing, as we're talking about depth of roster, is Illuminated Wolf. He's their 60 salary gold 3 player, but if any of you have ever played with him, he's actually a gold in ones. He's a low salary player with a lot of mechanical skill. And if they can teach him some threes rotation as they continue to play him in these coming weeks, I think we should really be on the lookout for how he earns every single piece of his 60 salary.
Thanks for catching that, Face. I completely missed New Orleans, and I can't believe that because, like I said, that's going to be the biggest upset from last week. They just completely came in and they just said, "No, Phoenix, we got this." They kept them down to 2 points over 3 games and just took them to town. That's such a strong showing for a team that up until now we weren't certain if they were going to show it, and they clearly did. Next, we got see here 2 teams tied for 4th and 5th. We're going to lead off with Nashville. Every damn day. What do you think about them?
Nashville's been a strong team throughout the season. They recently lost one of their stronger players in Buck, but they've picked up another 120. taking the same spot. They've put up some strong results. It'll be interesting to see if they can continue it. I'm not sure if the chemistry between the players is there or not, but their 5-1 record speaks for itself, and they're currently sitting at the top of the East, tied for the top of the Eastern Conference, and I'm sure they'll be looking for another win this week.
Yeah, Nashville is just one of those teams that we actually have them on the schedule this week for Cleveland, and I know that I'm really excited to watch that match. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a lot of entertaining shots, and I'm really sad it's not going to be on stream. But we do have two very good games on stream tonight. But moving on to the other team tied for fourth and fifth, Baltimore. Terminator, take us away.
Baltimore has taken care of business this season so far. They're 5-1. They've had one series go game 5, and that's why they're third place in the East right now. But they're a very strong team that's getting production from every single person in their lineup. They have champs, they have plats, but no matter who's in, they're all getting goals, they're all making saves, and they're just playing really good team Rocket League. And that's what you need in this league, especially during the regular season, is production from top to bottom, and they're giving it.
When Cleveland had a game against them a few weeks ago during stream, that just perfectly explains what was going on, because they were always there. They were always ready. They're such a strong team, not just in their mechanical skill, but also in their teamwork. And that's just so much danger when you're talking about this league. Next, we've got Phoenix, and let's take it away, Face.
Well, Phoenix, as we continue to talk about depth of roster, they have two amazing players on their team. And the important thing about a team having two amazing players is you can bring in some of those weaker players on your lineup and still have one of those strong players. You don't have to overplay them, right? And they had a big loss last week against New Orleans, but you know what? It's such a strong team. New Orleans is such a strong team. I think Phoenix is going to continue to pull out amazing wins. They're not going to let this win slow them down. And as all these teams are starting to play those lesser spots on their lineup, we're really going to see how those teams can handle the pressure of not having that A lineup, that ABC lineup. And it's really just going to come down to how Phoenix can deal with having a couple losses, maybe one loss, maybe more, but then bringing it together for the playoffs, because they already have 5 wins, 14 points. Their playoff spot is almost guaranteed at this point. And you know what, Phoenix, good on you. You had a loss. It's okay. Keep your head up high and just beat them in the playoffs.
So what do you think about this, Terminator? Do you think Phoenix is going to be one of those teams that just is going to be there in the playoffs, or do you think they're going to fall a little bit now that Glycine is maybe not going to be able to play as much?
Yeah, Glycine had a midseason move, so he is moving cities, moving houses, and it's costing him a little right now, as we saw last week. Got 3-0'd, but when the playoffs come, he's going to be there. When the end of the season comes, he's going to be there. And I think they got a lot of points right now. And even though it's a really crowded pack in the Western Conference, I think they're going to come out on top. They still have Red Black Fang, who's going to really do well for them. So I think they're going to make it still, but we're just going to have to see what happens. The West is so strong this year.
I 100% agree. I don't think they were ready for New Orleans, and I think they came in underestimating them, but I don't think that's going to happen a second time this season. Even without Glycine, perhaps this week, I think they're going to come in and I think they're going to bring it. I think they're going to show just how much they want this W, and I think it's just going to be a very strong showing. Next, we've got San Francisco at number 2. Uh, they've won 5 of their last 6 games. They've lost to Las Vegas, but they played their lowest lineup, and they still showed that they still had a little bit left in the tank. You just can't count out San Francisco. What do you think about this every damn day?
Yeah, this week was their first kind of blip on their resume, and they've played a strong season so far. And like you mentioned, they're getting the compliance and getting some of the lower salary players on their roster in the lineup, and still almost pulled it out against Las Vegas. Lost some close games. And I think, them and Phoenix are both still in great shape in the West. Both going to be top teams heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just want to say something about San Francisco's move there. I mean, we talk about making it to playoffs and teams playing these lower lineups, but if you're going to feed points, why not feed it to one of the lowest teams in your division? Right? If you're going to play that low lineup and you're going to lose some points, better to feed it to the team that really isn't in a position to threaten your playoff spot right now. And hats off to Matrix for seeing that and realizing that, hey, I can play my lowest lineup here. I can give them 3 points. And you know what? That's not even a big deal for us right now. We're so strong and we're so good, and our team chemistry is amazing that he just feels comfortable playing his lowest lineup, making sure everyone gets their turn to participate. And you know what? It was a pretty good matchup. And so hats off to him for thinking for his team as the captain about how to cement their spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's very true. They came in with a very strong lineup. Or let me rephrase that, came in with a strong lineup considering even though it's their C, D, and E, and yet they almost took it. That's such an amazing sign. And like you said, you know, it's all about strategy at this point. They're pretty well set. They just need to make that compliance. So next we have Detroit. And I don't know, I'm kind of surprised by this because 2 weeks ago they lost three of their players and they're now back stronger than ever. That's such a shock to me. I used to be the captain for Detroit, and I'm just so happy to see them coming in, take a commanding lead, and just really showing it to everyone like, hey, this is Detroit. You got to beat us. What do you think, Face?
Well, once again, we saw a lot of lineup shifts. And like you said, hats off to Detroit finding good players. They have the former star player of Nashville, Buck Wildebeest, now on Detroit and leading them to victory. And when you saw all those cards fall and all those new players find positions, they somehow managed to turn around and find that team chemistry, crushing New York in week 6, 3-0. And New York, we talked about them. That's another Power 10 team. That's a team that is no joke. They were 4-1. Now they're 4-2. What a way to cement your lead and show that you're still on top of your division, then bringing in a whole bunch of new players and quickly making them into a formidable team against a formidable opponent. And, the top of the power rankings say it all. And this is one of those situations when I say, hey, if any other team thinks they're number one, change my mind. Show me in some of these great matches, especially some of the matches we're going to see tonight.
What do you think, every damn day? Do you agree? Because I personally agree. I think they're going to just keep going on until someone brick walls them, makes them stop. Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, Detroit really seemed to turn a corner this week. That we've mentioned the roster changes. There's been some inconsistencies. They dropped a series against Buffalo, and they've been sitting consistently at third in our power rankings. And then this week they came out and put a beating on New York, and I think they've deserved their spot at number one in the power rankings. It'll take a strong performance from any of the other top teams to jump ahead of them, and I think they'll be one of, if not the favorites to win the playoffs this year.
I definitely believe they're going to be in the playoffs this year. So we've done our top 10. Is there anyone that we feel like we missed out or want to talk about a little more? Because I know New Orleans, I accidentally skipped over them a little bit earlier, but wow. I mean, that's just a blowout team that's just really, really bringing it in. I think that they're going to make finals this year.
Well, we're gonna have to see. The West is so deep. Every single game you play in the West this year, especially come playoff time, especially the top teams, but every single game you play, there's a chance for an upset. And while I got to agree, New Orleans, they started off the season slow and they have been building and building and building. And now it's all coming together. They're winning game after game. We're going to have to see what happens, but they are definitely making their case right now for being one of the most dangerous teams come playoff time.
Yeah, I agree with that. And they're in the Western Conference. New Orleans currently sits with 10 points in fourth place, but they're only 1 point out of missing the playoffs entirely. So every week's going to be important to get 2, if not 3 points to try to keep their spot in the top 6, make the playoffs, and see if they can take it from there.
And I just want to give a shout out to Laffy. Coming out here, he's only played 2 matches, but he does have 18 shots in 2 full matches that he's played. 9 goals, 4 assists, and 8 saves. And he's the D spot on Detroit. I think he's one of those people that's showing the depth of roster. And you know what? If you can get that kind of performance out of your D slot, that is championship material.
I think this brings up just perfectly. There's just so many teams right now that they're so close to getting into the finals just right now. So many teams are at 9 or at 10 points that just one lost game, just one overtime win, you may not make it to championship. You may not make it to the finals or semifinals. So each game you have to bring a lineup that you think can win, or you have to play this perfectly so you win the games that you can win. So now let's bring it over to the top 10 players for this week. At number 10, we have iPhrase. What do you think every damn day? Do you think he's a great player? Did you put him high on your list?
iPhrase started the season stronger than almost anybody in the league. Week 1 on stream, came out, put a beating on Las Vegas, and since then, he has been steadying San Francisco thus far, 5-1. He's a great player. He's on a great team. He's definitely deserving of a spot in the top 10.
Yeah, he's definitely a great player. Last season, amazing saves, great gameplay. I think he's going to really bring it this season, and I think he's showing it already. At number 9, we have Warped, key defensive player for Washington. When he's on the team, you got to bring a game that can beat their defense. What do you think, Term?
Yeah, he is making save after save after save out there right now. He has 26 on the season, and he's shooting well too. He has 40 shots, 13 goals. He's just helping the Washington team right now stay in the race for the playoffs. They got 3 wins. They're sitting at 500. They're really close. They are 3 points out of the playoffs right now, but that's only one game. They're only one game out of the playoffs, and when you have a defense, when you are tough to score on, it keeps you in any series that you play.
Definitely. At number 8, we have Linesman, and I'm going to call it right now, Rookie of the Year, Rookie of the Season. He came in at, I believe it was a Plat 2, and I think he's now at a Champ. What
That's
the
correct.
heck? Where is he come from, and what is he doing? Because I need some of that. What do you think, Face?
Well, everyone knows I put in the effort, but Lions Mane gets the results in terms of ranking up, and you really got to give it to him. It takes a lot to climb, especially so fast. And if you played with Lions Mane before, he's a solid player, a solid team player, and it shows. And not only in United Rogue, but it's showing in his ranked games as well. And that brings up that number one attribute that we don't talk about a lot, and that's adaptability. The ability to adapt to your teammates and climb that ranked ladder, which is so hard to climb with randoms, is certainly translating as he adapts to his team and works around them in the matches to bring out the wins for his team. And that is just so key.
You named it perfectly. Adaptability is key here because, like we said earlier, they lost 3 of their players earlier this season, and Linesman is keeping up that pressure, keeping up. I don't know if I'd say leading because Buck Wildebeest came in, but he is easily taking the co-leadership spot. That's such a strong showing, and I think he's already going to be in MAC League next season. Number 7, we have Mario RL. He came in the same time I did, but I think he's showing a much better showing of offense. What do you think, Terminator?
He has 22 goals on the season, and the scary thing is he's only 100 salary. I'm not sure if he's going to be in Linguini next year or not, or if he'll be up to Mac, but if he's in Linguini, it is going to be scary. I don't want to play him this year because he's just a scary player to play, and to think that he's not even one of their top 3 salaries is is unreal. But he's popping off. He has 22 goals and 12 saves, and he's shooting at a 43% clip. He is good, and the more he ranks up, the scarier it's going to be for the rest of the league.
Yeah, he is such a strong player for San Antonio. I you got to give him his respect when he's on the field. And at number 6, we have Matrix the Bad, and Face has actually called him. I think he's got something special for us. What is it, Face?
Oh man, I love San Francisco and what Matrix has done with this team. And not only is he leading his team to an amazing season, but he's leading his players. I phrase also on San Francisco, number 10. And that I think is that special something that Matrix brings is the ability not only to score a lot of goals, not only to guarantee the win for his team, but he can do it while giving his teammates a ton of points and a ton of stats as well. I mean, it's just incredible. We saw them come out so hard on stream in the very first week, and you know what? It's not surprising that he's been in the top 10 all this time.
That is so true. Matrix the Bad, I always am underestimating him, and I know every week I'm going to be proven wrong, and I am. At number 4, or sorry, number 5, I've got J2 Nasty. He's the lead player for Dallas, and he is one of the many of the players we've listed here, one of the offensive backbones for the team. But he also has tons of saves. What do you think, Day?
Yeah, he's, pacing that Dallas team. He's tied for the league lead with 31 goals. And he, more so than a lot of players, seems to really bring his team up and, you know, almost bring his team down. With that Dallas team, they're 3-3. And those 3 wins, he scored tons of goals. And those 3 losses, we haven't seen the same production. So I think if he can pull it together, I mean, Dallas is a team that will be scary, and he's certainly a reason because of it.
Yeah, they live or die off of that backbone, and if he can keep bringing that A game in those games, I think he's going to take it. At number 4, we have Buck Wildebeest, who, as we've said before, has moved to Detroit. What do you think about that, Terminator? You think that was a good move?
Yeah, definitely a great move. He's a 120 salary. He's the one of the 2 champs Detroit has on that team. They're such a deep team. But the way that he is playing for them this season and just playing in general, even when he was on Nashville, I'm pretty sure you said he was on Nashville. But yeah, he has 23 goals this season. He's even all around. Everything he does has been great. He's passing, he's saving, he's scoring. He's just doing it all for them. And that's why they're the number 1 team right now in Linguini League. They just have a great roster, and he pairs well with Lions Mane. He could just do it all out there.
At number 3, we have IT Manifest on Atlanta. And Atlanta is one of those teams that, they're not doing so well this year. They did just beat Cleveland, so they've got some strength. But, he's proving that if they can get that traction, they have that offensive capability. They have the strength to take themselves to the finals and maybe even take the championship. What do you think about that, Dave? Do you think he's going to take them there?
It's hard to tell. His counting stats are through the roof. He's leading his team well, but the results just aren't showing yet. And he's currently one of 3 125 salaries in all of Linguini League, and it's showing in his stats. And I hope that the rest of his team can match his output, and they can make a charge back into playoff position.
Yeah, I think Atlanta is a favorite for everyone, or for a lot of people in United Rogue. So I think a lot of people are hoping to see Atlanta bring up, and I think IT Manifest, if anyone can do it, I think it's going to be him. At number 2, we have Glycine Base, and again, Face is really excited about this. What did you got for us, Face?
Well, Glycine is just one of those players that is phenomenal all around. I mean, if you look at his stats, 61 shots. Oh my goodness. I don't think I have that many shots in free play in a whole day of playing, let alone in actual matches. But the thing that I really want to point out is Glycine has continually climbed the ladder week after week after week, including this week when he wasn't even here. He was number 3 last week in week 5. wasn't even here this week, and now he's number 2. And that takes a level of skill that I don't even begin to imagine that I have. But even with him missing the week compared to a lot of the other high stat performers, he's still up there with 4 less games than every damn day and with 4 less games than J2 Nasty. And he's still up there in the stats. It to me is phenomenal. And he's the B roster. Oh, I can't say enough about Glycine. And he's when he comes back, look out for whoever is facing him in that week. He's gonna be fresh. He's gonna be itching to play some Rocket League. And if you've ever done a move before, you know you're not happy after a move. He is just gonna take out all that moving frustration on you, and oh man, it's gonna be a goal explosion showcase for Glycine.
Yeah, he really showed the intangibles in the sense that this week, the first week that he hasn't been with his team, and they really fell off. So both with the counting stats and with the intangibles that might not show up on the stat sheet, he has led that Phoenix team to the position they're in now and is well deserving of number 2 on our player power rankings this week.
And that brings us to number 1. And he's actually in here with the booth with us every damn day. You're at number 1. You have the most shots of the season. You have tons of saves. You know, you're on New York. You got a successful season so far, but you're having some overtime. And before we ask you about this, what do you think, Terminator? What is your thoughts on this?
Oh, I don't want to hype him up. I don't want him to talk all good about his team on here, but they are doing great. They're 4-2. He's leading them to victory. He's got a good all around team behind him too. Salvation's been really rising this year, but that goes to the leadership that every damn day has. 31 goals on the season and 28 saves. That's great offense and great defense, and really that hasn't been seen around the league as much as he has done it. And it just goes to show why New York is in this playoff chase, and he's just done a great job.
So, Every, what's setting your team apart, or yourself apart from everyone else? Is it just what's that secret sauce? You gonna share it with us?
You know, I'm putting in some time in training, putting in some time in ranked. I've ranked up quite a bit, but at the end of the day, personal stats can only take you so far. And with my team sitting 4th in the East, we still have some work to do if we want to, first of all, make the playoffs and then make a run in the playoffs. We're going to need some good results. So I don't like to look too much at individual stats because one individual can only take you so far in a 3v3 game.
That is so true, and you know what? Yeah, I'm coming for you, man. You know, with those hints you gave me, I'm gonna take the top spot next week. You know that? But in all seriousness, let's move on to what we think is gonna happen this week with the games that we have for United Rogue. First, let's lead off with Chicago versus Buffalo. And I know that Chicago, they're just on the cusp of getting in and being able to get to the championship this season. I think they're at 7 points right now, and they really need to break that cusp and get into the final. What do you think, Terminator?
Well, Buffalo is one of those teams where they're having a great season themselves. I think they sit fourth or third in the East. I'm not 100% sure. Let me pull it up here. They are fourth in the East with 12 points, but they're not in our top 10. And part of that is because Profit left mid-season, and the 3-0 sweep last week to Montreal team, I think, is actually really good and is going to be a threat throughout this season. So Buffalo has a lot to prove this week. And Chicago's not a rollover either. So I think it's going to be a really good game, one that we can maybe see go 5, because both these teams are playoff worthy. It's just a question of who can pull out the result.
For the next, we have Philadelphia versus Detroit. And if I'm Philadelphia, I'm going to be sweating bullets. You know, Detroit, they have that depth of roster. They have really good team play. I don't know if what the plan is for Philadelphia, but they need to bring it. What do you think, Every? Do you think they're going to be able to bring it, or do you think it's just going to be a 3-0 sweep for Detroit? Sorry.
You know, it's hard to pick against Detroit. They are our number 1 team in the power rankings for a reason. But Philadelphia, they don't have exactly the points to show it, but they've been improving steadily throughout the year. They've gotten better week to week. I would love to see them put it together one week and get a win, but it's hard to say that it's going to happen this week going against a strong team.
That's 100% true. Right now, they're 0-6, so they have to get this win. If they don't get this win, they can pretty much kiss their playoff chances goodbye. However, you know what? I want to give the nod to them, but I know it's got to be Detroit. Philadelphia, prove me wrong. Number two, or sorry, let me continue on. New York versus Montreal. And, New York, they have a very strong team up, but at the same time, like was just previously said, Montreal, very strong team. I think we're a little bit underrating them. Maybe they can come in and really show us that they have what it takes. What do you think, Face? Do you think Montreal has what it takes to take New York?
Well, they took Buffalo last week in a 3-0 sweep. And yeah, it's a weakened Buffalo, but they're still a strong team. Everybody wanted to go be a part of Buffalo when there was an opening because they have a winning record, because they have so many points already. They can lose and have time to recuperate, pick up some more points, and coast into the playoffs. But you know what, Montreal, they're showing that they have what it takes to turn around what's now a losing season and bring out some really strong plays. They swept last week when they were playing against Buffalo, and it wasn't even a high scoring game. It was 2 goals on the side of Buffalo to 6 goals on Montreal. I mean, that shows Buffalo still has their defense, but Montreal is just pulling out all the stops as they continue to improve themselves, as they continue to show that, you know what, don't count me out yet. They want to get to the playoffs, and that's what it's all about right now. Is getting to the playoff. They have a champion player on their team. They have well balanced stats, but it's going to be a tough game. Every game is going to be a tough game from here on out, and the pressure is going to build up. But we'll see if their low salary players can pull it through because everyone in United Rogue gets to play 4 games in their season at a minimum. So, shameless plug, if you're out there watching and you're looking for some great Rocket League action, come on out, ask, sign up, get in United Rogue. Tons of high level players here that are willing to help you grow and become the Rocket League player that you always wanted to be. So I definitely think Montreal is going to give a good showing this week, and I look forward to seeing them and talking about their win next week.
Yeah, this is one of the more interesting matchups of the week, where this is a rematch of week 2 on stream, where New York took it 3-2 in a reverse sweep, and that was a tight matchup. A lot of overtimes, a lot of close games. So I think both teams here are really going to be looking to bring their best and get a win. There's a real rivalry forming between these two teams, and it'll be an intense matchup for sure.
And real quickly, every damn day, I just want to warn you. Deathman is only a 60 on the Montreal team. I think he has to play 3 times in the last 4 games of the season, but do not be underestimating him. I have seen him play so much, and he is a scary player. He's very technically sound. When he came on the market, when he just joined, actually, you are just a week or so ago, he's a scary player. I wanted to get him on my team. Unfortunately, I didn't. Minty was all over that for Montreal, but they know that he's a very good player, and I would not be underestimating him.
So at the next game, we've got Baltimore versus Atlanta. Baltimore, another team that's been doing so well. They lost against Nashville, and they took Carolina to a game 5. I think that shows a little bit of signs of cracks in their strength, and I think Atlanta, with IT Manifest on their team, I think they might be able to make this work. What do you think every damn day? Do you think this is going to work?
It's hard to tell with that Atlanta team. They have all the pieces in place to come out and win games. We just haven't seen it consistently enough. Baltimore, on the other hand, they've been putting it together. They've been putting together enough performance to get the wins out. To where I like Atlanta here. I like the players they have on their team, but it's hard to go against Baltimore based on the season they've been having.
That's very true. Baltimore, so far, even with their overtime win against Carolina, which don't get me wrong, they have great players in Carolina, but Carolina just hasn't had the success this season that many of us were expecting yet. Maybe they'll bring it back towards the end, but still, that shows that Atlanta has a chance. What do you think, Face? Do you think Baltimore's just going to shut them out, or do you think it might be a game 5?
You know, we talked about it, Atlanta having all the tools necessary to already have a winning season. They have a strong player on their team, a couple strong players on their team, but something's just happening in the game, and I don't really know what it is because I'm not a high ranked player myself, but I think if anyone can do it and can start to turn around their season, I think Atlanta can do it here. This win will be pivotal for them turning this season around and clawing their way up because it's a long climb for them. They got Baltimore and they have Nashville in their division. That's a hard climb. But you know what? You have strong players. You have very few weeks left. I think they can do it. I think it's going at least to game 5. I don't think you can just disrespect Atlanta and say, hey, you know what? It was a good season already. It's not time to throw in the towel for Atlanta. It's time to buckle up those Rocket League seatbelts, hang on. And you know what? If one of those players on Baltimore starts getting some sick shots, don't hesitate for the bump demo plays. The physicality in Rocket League keeps going up as positioning gets better and as teams learn to work and rotate faster and recover faster. Those bump demo plays might give them the edge in order to make someone forcibly out of position and out of rotation. So, you know what, Atlanta? Take it to game 5, pick up the win, and show Baltimore that they don't have their playoff position secured.
At the next game we've got is Cleveland versus Nashville. Again, I'm on Cleveland, so I don't want to hype us up too much. However, we're going to take it to Nashville. We're going to take that W. What do y'all think? Day, what do you think? You think it's going to be an easy 3-0, or do you think we might get a 4-1?
This is one of the more intriguing matchups of the week. There's two, teams with a lot of points, teams with a lot of still to prove and a lot to play for. Cleveland needing to get some points to make the playoffs. Both teams looking to finish high in the East. It'll be a close one. I could definitely see it going 5 games. Either team pulling it out.
Very true. I know I've said that I'm part of Cleveland, but at the same time, I don't want to make Nashville sound as if they aren't a strong team without Buck Wildebeest. They are a strong team. They've shown that while they may not be as strong, they're still extremely strong. Next, we have Utah versus New Orleans. Not too much we've heard from Utah. However, they only have, I believe, 4 points this season, but 2 of those. Oh, I'm sorry. I misread this. They have 3 wins this season, 2 of which from overtime wins. So I think Utah really needs to come out and set themselves. Oh, dang, I keep messing this up. I'm sorry. They have 1 win and 2 overtime losses. I was looking at Washington. Yeah, so Utah really needs to come in now. They have the tools to win all of these series. It's not a clean sweep besides San Antonio where they won. I think there's a good chance that Utah, if they come in prepared, they might take New Orleans. What do you think, Face?
Well, I don't know. New Orleans, we've talked about them. I think they're the team to watch. They're coming strong for their playoff spot. And you know what? They have that E slot, Illuminated Wolf, strong Linux player. He's going to have to play these upcoming games. He's going to have to show that he was worth it after he went to tryouts and he was looking for a team because he came into UR a little late. It's going to be on him. And no pressure, but I've seen him play Terminator. I think he tried out for San Diego. Do you think Wolf has what it takes to guarantee New Orleans a playoff spot?
We're gonna have to see. He is a very good player, especially for his rank. It's gonna be a tough match today this weekend against Utah. And New Orleans is hot. They're one of the, I believe, hottest teams in the league right now, and that's why they're so high up on those power rankings. We're gonna just have to see. This whole slate this week is a lot of good games.
So I keep wanting to bring numbers into this. Phoenix versus San Antonio. Phoenix, like we've said, very strong team, but we don't know if Glycine's going to be able to play. And we know San Antonio they're hungering for that win. Do you think that they will be able to take that W, or perhaps do you think they'll just have to lay down and let Phoenix roll over them? What do you think, every damn day? Do you think Phoenix is going to lose?
It'll be hard for them with Glycine still out. They're gonna have to put it together, get some team chemistry from the rest of the team. If they give a performance similar to last week, I don't know if they'll be able to pull it out against a strong San Antonio team. I definitely like San Antonio in that one.
I think this comes back to depth of roster and the important thing of, it's not necessarily a bad thing that Glycine isn't here. Other players have to play, they have to get their 4 games in. And you know what? If you give Utah 3 points or 2 points, it's not a big deal. The points don't matter once the playoff spots. Then it's all about winning. They can throw their bottom roster at San Antonio, let them have a few points. Maybe they don't do as well in the power rankings because of it, but everyone has to play those lower slots. The high roster spot climb where everyone's clawing for points, it's over. It's the last few weeks. You got to play your full roster. You got to give everyone their chance at their 4 games, or you're just not in the playoffs due to a compliance of player rosters. So you know what? Phoenix has to play those lower roster players, but San Antonio has to play some of those too. So I think San Antonio can take the win, and I don't even think Phoenix cares, to be honest. I think Phoenix can give them the points and then continue on keeping their eye on the prize and looking towards the playoffs when Glycine's back and their team can show why they made it to that top power ranking spots this far in the season.
Next, we have Las Vegas versus Los Angeles, and this is going to be the battle to not lose. They're both very close to each other. They both have 9 and 7 points individually. They have very similar team layouts. So I think whoever comes more prepared for this will take that W. You have a strong team in Los Angeles. You have a strong team in Las Vegas. You have Mouse Rat. You have Turney Ernie. You have all of these players that, depending on the lineup, it's going to be extremely close. I almost guarantee this is going to be a game 5. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I agree with you there. This is an extremely important matchup for both teams, with both of them. Los Angeles tied for the last playoff spot. Las Vegas just outside of it. Whoever gets the win here is going to have the upper hand going into the last 3 weeks of the season, and both teams are going to be bringing their top lineups, looking for all 3 points.
Now we have San Francisco versus Portland. Portland, a team that has historically had one of the highest salary caps for Linguini League, but San Francisco has proven that that doesn't matter, that they can come in with a lower salary cap and just beat you mechanically and team wise. But who knows? Maybe Portland's going to come in and take it. What do you think, Term?
I think this is the best matchup we have this week. Portland, as I said before, I'm on San Diego. They held us close last week while playing 2 guys for the first time. They didn't have the chemistry going yet. This week is different. They've played a whole series. They know what they've needed to improve on, and I think they're going to come out hot against San Francisco. I definitely see that series going 5, but which way is a huge question. I think it's going to be a good series.
So now we have San Diego versus Seattle. Both teams, sorry, they both need this win to make sure that they have that clinch, that they have the ability to move forward. Uh, Seattle needs it significantly more, but San Diego, they want that because they can confirm their win. What do you think, Term?
Yeah, we definitely need that win. I'll tell you that much. But we're both bringing out similar salaries this week, team wise. I think it's going to be a really good game in Seattle. They also have had a really good team, and it just hasn't clicked until last week. They finally got that weight off their chest. They got that win over Los Angeles. I think it's going to be a good one. We'll just have to see what happens.
Okay. So now we have Washington versus Carolina. This is going to be a big one. That this is on stream, so Carolina is going to want to bring their best team against Washington. Cleveland's just played against both of them, and I can tell you right now, Carolina is a team that can really bring it. I think they have the strength. I think they have the ability, but at the same time, so does Washington. Face, what is your thoughts on this?
Well, winning this game for both of them is what they need if they want to make playoffs. If Washington takes the points off Cleveland, then Washington is going to look to, or sorry, off Carolina, then Washington is really going to look to challenge Cleveland for those high point spots. But if Carolina wants to make it to the playoffs, they've got to start winning. They need the points to get into the playoffs. And you know what? I think they can do it. I know there's been a lot of roster changes as they've lost players, and every team has had it, but they need to pull this through. So, you know what? I think Carolina needs to put a good showing on tonight, and I look forward to seeing a close game with a lot on the line for both teams.
What do you think, Day?
Yeah, this is one of those games where Washington really needs to take care of business. They're sitting just outside the playoffs. Carolina's a team that hasn't been able to put it together yet. If Washington wants to seriously challenge for a playoff spot, they need all 3 points today.
So I think that's going to bring us into the predictions for this game, and I'm going to say 3-1 in favor of Washington. I think Washington's just going to have that edge, but at the same time, I know what? I think Carolina, if they bring it, they can take this game. Face, what is your predictions on this?
You know, I love Washington, and I like a lot of the Carolina players. But you know what? I'm going to go with this great and exciting upset. I'm going to pick Carolina 3-1 in Washington. I think they're going to make an incredible showing tonight. They're going to show us why they've been practicing so much, and I think they can do it. 3-1 in favor of Carolina. I'm sorry, Washington, but you know what? I'm always going to root for the underdog.
What do you think, Term? Do you think the underdog's going to take it, or do you think that that Washington's just going to come in and take it?
I do not believe Washington gets all 3 points tonight, but I do think they will get the win. I think it's going to go 5. I think Washington is going to ultimately get the win here, but Carolina, they've been able to get some wins off the lower teams in their division, and I think they'll do the same tonight.
Day, what is your thoughts on this? I think there's a lot of hope for Carolina to take this, and I think there might be that upset tonight.
If I don't have the lineups in front of me, but I imagine Washington is going to be coming out with their top 3 players. And I think if they do, they're going to be taking this 3-0. They have a strong lineup, and they need this win.
So it looks like overall we're about tied down the middle. And that is great because that means it's going to be a close game, hopefully. And it's going to be a very interesting game to watch. Next, we've got Kansas City versus Dallas. And Dallas coming in strong, Kansas City coming in just as strong, almost the same point difference. I think it's going to matter who comes in with what team, and it's going to be a close one. I have to say Game 5, and I guess in favor of Dallas because I live near there. What is your thoughts on that, Face?
Well, you know what? I think both teams need this win if they want to do it. And I think you're right. I think it comes down to the roster that they're playing. But you know what? Like J2 Nasty on stream, he's not going to let Dallas down. He's going to be bringing the heat. He's going to take his 68 shots he's already made, and he's going to be putting up those offensive scoring opportunities for his team. And you know, Kansas City, they're just going to have to hope to shut him down. I think that's going to be it. If Kansas City can shut down Dallas, then you know that's just going to be it. But my prediction is I'm definitely thinking that Dallas wins this one, Game 5, 3-2.
Terminator, what's your thoughts? You think Dallas is going to come in with their strong offense, or you think Kansas City is going to do the upset?
I think they're going to come in with their strong offense, Dallas is. I believe J. Tonassi, I think he's going to get 10 goals this series. I'm making a bold prediction there, but I'm going Kansas City in 5.
Awesome. Every damn day, are you going to follow us, or are you going to be the upsetter?
I like Kansas City here. I think Mo Bags is going to come out, bring a strong lineup, have a strong performance. I like Kansas City here 3-1.
Both of these teams are going to come in very strong, and that they're going to show that United Rogue is a great thing to watch on your Thursday nights, Linguini League action. It's 7:59. We're a minute away from starting. We're going to lead you off now. Have a great show, and tune in next week.